Here we go. Hi everybody, Drozd, cartoonist and teaching artist. I'm going to be inking another warm-up drawing. Let's look at the tools that we're going to use today. Oh, dump the whole bag out. Why not? Let's stop my preview streams. Okay. Yeah, so there's the Pentel Tradio, which is a sort of like a plastic fountain pen. Let me move this over so I can see the chat if anybody shows up. Okay. So, yeah, it's kind of like a plastic fountain pen. Then we got the Pentel Fude brush and the color brush. Got ourselves a Sharpie. These are pencils, we're not going to use those. And another Fude brush just in case. And is that all I got in here? That's all I got in here. Okay. Let's get to work. Only got like 30 minutes to get this done. And then I gotta go teach a class. Comics class. Whole day's about comics. That's a great problem to have. Alright. Sorry there's no music or anything this time. Although, I don't know, depending on your taste, that might be a relief for somebody. I keep this little notepad, or rather a post-it notepad nearby. I always keep some kind of piece of paper nearby to test how loaded the brush is. I think I want to start with some of the background stuff because I don't think my hand's ready for doing some precise, smooth line stuff. So this is, by the way, a character slated to appear in Boulder and Fleet eventually. Boulder and Fleet, my webcomic about a bear and a bird who go from town to town solving people's problems. Their adventures for hire. So I get to do lots of freelancing jokes, along with addressing topics that are very meaningful to me, like helping people and pacifism and celebrating things in comics that I really love, like capturing motion, dynamism and power. Anyway, it's talking animals, and there's this story I was working on where Boulder and Fleet arrive for a gig and find out that a bunch of other adventurers for hire have arrived for the gig, and this guy was one of those adventurers. RJ Rocket Punch, a sloth with sentient gauntlets that can fly. Sort of like Transor Z, right? Remember Transor Z or Mazinger Z? Rocket Punch. Same idea. Except the the spin that I was going to put on it, the different flavor I was going to add is that he's a very tech-savvy sloth who invents his friends. His punches are his friends. Kind of stealing from my own material. Anybody who's read a comic I did years ago called The Front, Rebirth, there's a character in there named Dick Courage. Let me make sure this is in the shot. It's in the shot. Who had, throughout the story, had a series of different talking laser guns. The first one was named Angel. What was the second one? Tammy. The third one was Sally. I was always happy with that idea of this mercenary who was so at ease with the idea of being a bad guy that he would create a mechanism for him to be able to do monologuing even if there was nobody around. So he talks to his guns, and his guns talk back. So anyway, with RJ, um, I thought I'd explore the same kind of idea, but in a little bit more of a how would I put it? Friendly, thoughtful? I don't know. Not as much of a joke. Like with Dick Courage, it was meant to be a jokey aspect to his character. Like, he makes his weapons with these lady names and with these kind of bubbly personalities, and so he can kind of flirt with them. Trying to also show that like he's kind of a sleazy pig. With RJ, like these are like his friends. You know, I don't think I got a new Sharpie to fill in these blacks. Shame on me. And just checking the different comment streams, see if anybody's been commenting. I'm also streaming live on Watch Me Work as well as YouTube. Has anybody been watching, or I'm sure if you have been, you're probably done by now, that Voltron, the new Voltron cartoon, Season 2 on Netflix? I was taking it in one episode a week, like old-timey TV, partially just to savor it, because I'm enjoying it so much, but also because like I've got a buddy that I talk with on the phone once a week, and like that was like sort of our weekly check-in. We were adding that to our weekly check-in. It was like, let's talk about Voltron, talk about the latest episode. I just finished Season 2, and goodness gracious, that show just does a marvelous job of making me really feel fear for the characters, and then diffusing, or rather satisfying that anxiety with awesome victory or really great humor. But it's surprising to me, and I need to sit down and really think about how they did this. I want to do that. How they're able to make me... Walking in, I know the main characters are not going to die. I know this. Why is it that I'm worried that they will? How can I both know that they're not going to die and yet feel anxiety that they might? What's the trick they're playing on me? And I think it has to be partially that they've made the characters just so darn lovable. Like, they're so appealing and so fun to watch just do things. Like, there's for anybody who has seen it, there's the Space Mall episode where it's like, it's not a huge plot-driven episode, right? It's more of like I mean, there's plot in it. It ties into the whole overall season plot, but it's also like a nice break episode. It's just like a fun episode. And it's like, as I'm watching, I'm like, I just like checking in with these people. I just like looking and watching these people do stuff. It's got to be part of it. I mean, you care about them a lot, right? I haven't been excited by a television show like that in a long time. I was very happy to see that they got another season. brush here coming off. Okay, this is the part where it's going to get dicey. Trying to do smooth mechanical stuff. How much time do I got? Not a lot. I don't know if I'm going to be able to finish this in time. But we'll do our best. I'm still not 100% sure about the design of this character. I keep playing with, every time I draw him, I keep playing with the armor design and the rockets designs a little bit more. You know, what I think I might not have time to do, well, let's just press on instead of talking about how much time we got left. Let's just work until we can't work anymore. I'm doing the Warriors thing where I'm looking at the watch over and over again. And RJ's just having a sandwich. Why? Because sandwiches are great. Is there anything better than a good sandwich? Not many things. I wonder if my other brush is wetter. Perhaps it is. It is. I think what I'm having the most trouble with this design is the gauntlets, the hand parts. So I don't want to just, I don't know. Is this simple in a bad way, right? I'm trying to balance simplicity with like cool tech look, but I also want it to be like plausible or look plausible. I don't know. I think I gotta keep playing with the fingers. I'm not sure what to do yet. Right now I'm in that stage where I'm trusting myself that the design is going to slowly take shape with each iteration. That's why you do multiple sketches, right? And instead of trying to force it through, tweak and adjust little things, like his chest harness is what got modified a lot this time, as well as the back end of his rocket punches. And so when I got to the fingers of the gauntlets, I was like, you know, just do them this way for now. We'll fight that battle again with the next iteration. Oh, look, he's got a napkin on his lap because he's a very tidy adventurer. Can't go help people with a bunch of crumbs on your pants. At least RJ can't. You can see I'm doing everything I can to draw whatever I can before I get to these bits over here with all these straight lines. Okay. Let's do this. See, it's this look of the gauntlets, the fingers, that I'm not crazy about. I don't like this whole 90s Image Comics, you know, Cyber Force. What was that guy's name? Ripclaw, Razor Claw. Reminds me too much of that. Not that I dislike the character. I don't even really know anything about the character. It just it makes it evokes that look to me. And this is another sweet, gentle guy I'm trying to design. So maybe, but that's like, so what I was trying to do is I'm trying to evoke the kind of claws that sloths have, three-toed sloths. So I don't know. What kind of metal glove would a three-toed sloth wear, right? Actually using my wrist when I'm doing this. When I used to ink with a crow quill, I'd always take a deep breath, and then I'd use my whole arm. I'd stiffen my arm and drag like this. I think there's a video actually on my YouTube channel of me inking with a crow quill, and I talk about that in the video. Oh, look, I smudged my ink. Hello, 034 Cake. Thanks for hanging out. Now, a drawing of this character eating a sandwich doesn't really demonstrate what their technology does very well, but it's, I like it, it's a cute image. But the way I imagine this thing working is there's these rocket nozzles on either side of his elbow, so he would bend his arm like so to launch the rocket, so not to get caught up in the blast burn, and then these wings would flip up to become guiding wings, right? And we can see his spare punch on his back has the three, so his arm would bend in like that, so, right? So when he bends his, bent his elbow to fire, he doesn't get caught up in that blast. Oh, so Zero, you're a old student of mine. I'm guessing at the art center, or is it one of my old library jobs, workshops? And thank you for the kind words about the drawing. Because I'm actually, I have to wrap up this drawing pretty darn soon because I actually have to go teach a class at the art center tonight. My final edition of my teen comics class. Oh, Rania! Good to see you again, or good to hear from you again. Gosh, it's been a long time. One of the more dedicated and talented students that I worked with. It was a privilege to work with you. Oh, you're not doing as much drawing anymore, Rania? Life has a funny way of getting in the, or making it as challenging as possible to follow any kind of pursuit that takes a lot of time. I mean, especially when you're young and you're just trying to get through school and make all of these different life choices. I know that when I was young and pursuing my interest in comics, it often came at the expense of other things. Some things that I regret, some things I don't, but yeah, it's super time consuming. And even to this day, I mean, it remains time consuming. Like it's one of those things where balancing one's life, you know, like meeting your personal obligations as well as your professional and artistic commitments. I should say commitments. It's not obligations. I committed to it. It was my choice to do this thing. This is meaningful stress. Oh goodness, I'm sorry to hear that, Rania. Yeah. You know, something I've started doing in my teen classes in recent years is I've started making the students do different kinds of warm-up stretches. For that reason, because I've had too many friends and acquaintances injure themselves doing this stuff. And the kids always chuckle when I ask them to do this. I'm like, okay, let's not injure ourselves. Let's do a warm-up stretch. They chuckle like, you can't injure yourself making art. I'm like, yeah, you can. I'm sorry to say. And I know that when I do long stretches, like I just finished working really hard on a book that comes out next year, this area of my arm gets really torqued up. Why? Because I'm not stretching enough. Yeah, I'm really sorry to hear that happened to you. That's sucky. I have too many friends now who have to use wrist braces because of their careers. It's so it's so easy to forget to think about self-care when it comes to this, because art is such a pleasurable thing to do that how can it hurt you? And it's so much slower and more less physically active than, say, sports, right? So how can it hurt you? Because it's very repetitive. You're moving your wrist a lot. Oh man, I'm almost there. I'm almost there. Can I beat the clock? Maybe. Alright, right. Come on. Focus, Jerzy. You know what though, Rania? When it comes to motivation, I think sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes. I mean, you've seen Kiki's Delivery Service, right? Maybe. I think what that artist says in there is very true, is that sometimes it's just like stepping away from it is a good thing, and giving yourself some space to let that inspiration come back. I know I have, and you probably heard me go off on this in classes, that I'm not a big believer in waiting for inspiration for everything. I think if you want to do it professionally, you have to do it on demand, on command. There's a certain level of showing up ready to perform that you need to have. Oh, I am not happy with those rocket nozzles. But at the same time, there's burnout, right? And you don't want to burn out. You don't. I've had burnout before, and it sucks. And so I try to remind myself, and this is like part of my self-care regimen, is I get out of the studio and I go for walks. I don't think about comics as much as I love them. Like I have to take breaks from them. I have to take breaks from working on them. Because it's intense. Well, doing anything that requires a lot of thinking is super intense, and your brain can't function in that kind of survival mode all the time. It's really difficult. So when you feel that burnout coming on, like for me, I get away from it for a while and trust that I'll get back to it, because I had so much fun doing it before. How could I not? And I don't want to muscle through it because, that's what real pros do, and take the joy out of it, right? That's scary too. I don't want to buy into that myth that work has to be grueling in order to be worthwhile. Work can be really hard and also be really pleasurable. Doing some dry brushing now. Yeah, stopping and taking care of yourself is super important. And it's a lesson that I had to learn later in life. I mean, in my early 20s, I bought into that myth hardcore about, like, I'll sleep when I'm dead. Real pros, they work the extra hours and they make the sacrifices necessary in order to do the job. That's what pros do. I totally sang that song until I made myself sick doing it. And then I was like, wait a second. I made myself sick for a job that wasn't paying enough for me to make myself sick doing it. And I thought, there are people I care about in this world that I would hate to not see anymore, because I was getting all caught up in this macho narrative of being a super cartoonist because I show up and I do the hard work no matter what, Enough of that. There's lots of talk these days about snowflakes and such. but I'm not trying to stop I'm not trying to keep anybody's heart beating with this. I'm making art. It's meaningful, but it's not as desperate a situation as it could be. And what's more is I want to keep making it. I want to keep doing it in a way that's sustainable so that I can keep doing it instead of driving myself into the ground. Alright, let's do these trees. How much time do I have left? Oh gracious, I am almost out of time. Yeah, art is, yes, you said it wonderfully, Rania. Art is exhausting in a very different way. And it sounds counterintuitive, right? Because it's fun to draw. It's fun to play basketball. Basketball is exhausting. Skilaufen is fun. Very tiring. Well, Rania, I expect that after a break, and especially if you're helping somebody make their first comic, which is awesome of you to do, by the way, the art advocate in me is very happy to hear that. What a kind thing to do. I'm sure that you'll find that rhythm again. You know, originally I thought I was going to draw all these lines. I think I'm not. I think I'm going to find the ones that need to be there and the ones that don't. And I thought I was going to be able to scan this and post it online before I go to class, and I am not. Oh, you're studying psychology? You know, that complements cartooning very well. Understanding people, getting inside their heads. I mean, that's what a cartoonist is doing with their work. And I mean, understanding how people think is super useful for when you're doing client negotiations, right? If you're like deciding to work with somebody, knowing how to talk to people and knowing how to create personas of your potential clients, or the people that you're creating something for. Super important. So yeah. Wow. Psychology with neuropsychology in Wales. So cool. Alright, come on, tree. How are you liking Wales? Oh, hey, India. Good to see you. Oh, that's kind of you to say. I'm doing my best. I'm trying to work fast because I'm running out of time. I'm supposed to leave for class in like 5 minutes if I want to get there in time. So this is the nice thing about deadlines. This is something I love about deadlines. As painful as they are, it focuses the mind and makes you realize that, you know what? Maybe let's not be precious. Maybe let's just trust our instincts. Maybe, oh man, it feels so weird to say that because I was so opposed to that idea for a long time. I was so, oh man, I had such a chip on my shoulder with the whole like instinctual work. Like, you do it deliberately. You think hard. Oh, I was as gentle as I am most of the time. Like, man, my 20s and my early 30s, I was such an intense, angry man compared to now. But yeah, it's like nowadays I enjoy the part of deadlines that make me speed it up and not get all uptight about getting it perfect. Like right now, I'm making little tiny mistakes, trying to incorporate them, not sitting here going like, well, should I move this way or that way? Just get it done. You've done this 100 times, you can do it again. Thank you for the vote of confidence, India. There's too many hills in Wales? Welsh, I have some Welsh friends, and it is a fascinating language. Yeah, Michigan is a very comparatively flat place. I'm sure you noticed that when you were here, Rania. And yes, there's this, to India's point, it's kind of freeing in a very constricting way, being on a tight deadline and having to trust yourself in that way. Yeah, that's a nicely said. And this is something I've been saying to my students about like making stories for years. And Ron, you may remember this, that limitation breeds creativity, right? Painting yourself into a corner creatively means that you got to find a way to get out of that mess, solve the problem. And that's where the creative solutions come from. The hills have very nasty names from the students. I'm guessing words that I wouldn't use in a classroom. Those must be some serious hills. But yeah, so like being up against the wall, having to work fast, means that I've got to solve the problem. And solving problems means that you come up with creative solutions, right? Like right now, if I had the time, I would not have used these little scratchy lines to render the bark on this twisty tree, but I'm actually kind of digging it. I wouldn't have tried that otherwise. But it's like, okay, work fast, buddy. And I think some dry brush work, and we might be good. I'm not gonna have time to do the leaves. Leaves, you're gonna have to be done later. I can do them digitally. Yuck, yuck, yuck. Nope. Dry brush time. Just to help give this thing a little bit of dimension. You know what, India? You said it. You said it. Having no deadline whatsoever means you can just fiddle with it and tweak it, and it needs a little something more. You know what makes the something more happen? Just doing it and having to do it. You know, it's like this Boulder and Fleet story I've been sitting on for going on 4 years. You know, I keep talking myself out of doing it, and but you want to do short, fun stories instead. Well, I got this like kind of cool story that I've been working on for a long time, and it has like a lot of ideas that are very important to me in it, and I'd like to try to figure it out. but it needs just a little bit more. It needs a little bit more, you know? And the only time I'm going to actually find that is if I sit down and commit to doing it and make a deadline for myself. That's the big learning experience that I relearned this past year working on the Rocket book. Like, there was so much ambiguity around that book when we started it. And we sorted it all out, and I watched us sort it out. And it came together really nice. And I'm like, okay, why am I able to do that for this, but not a project that I've been thinking about for years, right? Active and passive procrastinators. Active procrastinators like the pressure which helps them going for the deadline. Passive procrastinators suffer from the consequences. I think I oscillate between those two states. But I probably lean more towards active procrastination because, yes, I do love working a lot. I think that's all I'm going to be able to get done today. I have to actually hit the road. But yeah, I'm glad that you guys were able to hang out with me. And it was really cool to talk to you again, Rania. I'll look forward to seeing whatever you wind up drawing in the near future. Thank you, India. I will make that thing. You want to hear? Okay, this is the little secret I'll share before I go. I actually, the other day, a couple weeks ago, I said, I was just thinking aloud when I was talking with my wife, and I said, like, oh, I should put together a Pickles and Taft pitch, because I think that there's something in there that's marketable to, like, a book publisher. And I said, I don't know, maybe I'd be like Pickles and Taft Pickles and Taft and the 7 Deadly Statues. You know, I just said it off the top of my head. And Anne turns to me, she's like, well, that's a story I want to hear. What are the 7 deadly statues? Why are they deadly? Where do they come from? Do they move? You know, and I'm like, I don't know. I just said like something that sounded interesting. So then I'm like, then my mind gets going. It's like, you should do that. You should do that pitch. Do that as a pitch for, and instead of the Boulder Fleet story, I'm like, am I talking myself out of it again? You know, so it's like, what do I do? You know what? I should do Boulder and Fleet and the 7 deadly statues and have Pickles and Taft in the story. How about that? Everybody wins. All right, I gotta go to class, but thank you guys for hanging out with me on the live stream, and I will post this on my Instagram, Jerzy Drozd on Instagram, later on today. So until next time, I've been Jerzy Drozd of BoulderandFleet.com and Jerzy on Twitter. Okay, bye.